This is a bonus module, Create Your Brand. People need to be intentional with how they present themselves online and offline. This module will help you ask yourself, how do others, like employers, see my choices in apparel or social media activity? It's a great module for everyone. Welcome to Create Your Brand. So when you were hired because you work well culturally between you and the company. You share their values, their identity, and their image. So what does branding do? Branding, if you focus on this, reinforces loyalty. For example, British doctors showed via a brain scan that people's loyalty to Apple is equivalent to a religious experience. What brands are you loyal to? What values do they represent to you? What emotions do you feel when you think of certain brands? Take a moment and just reflect on this. What is personal branding? It is who you are, what you represent, and what you can do for people. At Economy of One, I have stressed with you that you are valuable, unique, and one of a kind. Your brand should say this and convey this to everyone you meet. So how can your brand be conveyed to others? It can be conveyed by your dress, by your appearance, by your mannerisms, and certainly by your personality. It also can be conveyed through your communication style and your online appearance. It is related to your history, your reputation, your relationships, and your interactions with others. This is how you establish your brand. And your brand really at the core is what you do and the promise of how you do this for other people. Why have a personal brand? Well, number one, it distinguishes you from other competitors that are just as qualified. Your brand is for life and not just employers. Rule number one in business, people must like and trust you before anything else. Your brand is a way for them to determine fast if they like and trust you, and often it's done within seconds of meeting you almost subconsciously. Branding really is a sniff test for trust because when people meet you, they ask, do our personal brands align? Do our values align? Do our promises that we work toward align? And how about our personality? Do our personalities fit? These are the kinds of questions people ask when they meet your human brand. Consider the types of companies or clients that want to hire you. Questions to ask include, what are the elements of their brand? What do the products, services, and values of their brands represent? And how do their values align with yours? Offline branding includes relationship, images, attire, and habits. So one of the people who went through our class said, in an age of dressing down, I break away from the pack and it shows because I dress up and I take a lot of pride in my appearance. Your social brand. Offline, you need to ask your accountability partners, what do you do well and what do you not do so well socially? Maybe the one question to ask is one thing you can improve. It might include things like, well, when you meet people, you're overbearing, or you just might want to tone down the fact that you overpromise, or maybe not follow through too promptly. You might provide too much disclosure, for example, or have too much political chatter. Online, what does your presence say about you? What does it say about your network? What does it say about the photos you post and where you're at when you post them? Posting is very personal, and when you include a ton of personal information on your social media post, you need to be aware that potential employers and customers are looking at that social post and asking, do I identify with the kind of values that you portray consistently in your post? So I'm prompted to tell you a story of a woman in my network who, while she really tried hard to get jobs, would constantly sabotage herself by posting social media posts about her colleagues or about the work environment that she didn't like. And it was as if she felt like she could say these things and nobody would ever see them. When I was looking at them, I was just horrified because I thought, man, if I'm seeing this, I bet her employer is seeing this. And sure enough, often she would find herself in hot water for dubious situations at work. But I suspected that a lot of this was coming from sideways information that was getting back to the employer. Also, on many of her posts, she was taking liberty to complain about working conditions, complain about her boss or her colleagues. And candidly, this is just really bad practice. You do not want to go online and vent. You do not want to show yourself emotionally unstable online. And if you use social media like that, it can be very detrimental for you. Where I believe technology is headed is that in very short order, anything that any employee is posting online regarding work will be brought immediately to the attention of the employer. I really do believe that technology is here, if not already prevalent in many large companies. Also, I believe that technology will, through artificial intelligence, assess you as a candidate. It will take a look at all of your social media activity and assign you a type of credit score or social score as to how viable you are as a candidate, how stable you are, how many positive emotions you display, how many negative emotions you display. Artificial intelligence is going to transform how we use social media. And you need to be very careful about how you use social media because you need to anticipate that your colleagues and your employer are looking you up to see what's going on. The other thing you really want to avoid on social media are political arguments, things that show a lot of strife and offense. You want to be careful about being photographed always drinking or in a party environment. You just need to be careful. Your brand is who you want to present to the world. You need to ask yourself, what promise do I want to make through my brand to potential clients or employers? What value do I want to create for others? And then you need to take action. So you need to start by being intentional and consistent with how you present yourself to the world. When you think about people like that, think for a moment about Mark Zuckerberg. That guy has been consistent. You got to hand it to him. He has always worn t-shirts and hoodies and casual clothes to most things. He's been very consistent with his brand. Steve Jobs was famous for his black turtleneck and his jeans. Oprah, very intentional with her brand, always stylized for the environment that she's photographed in. You have tremendous control over your personal brand. What kind of things can you control? You can control your clothes. You need to look at your clothing and ask yourself, what does this convey about me? Go to people and get opinions. You might find that if you find someone who's being honest, you're wildly out of date, or that you need to update your clothing choices. Other things you control are things like your hair. I know this sounds ridiculous, but if you're a man over 40 and you are competing in the job market, it is very helpful for you if you are prematurely graying to put some hair dye in. I know this sounds unusual and it's usually something that women use, but this is something that can be very helpful at taking a decade off of your appearance and framing your face. My husband would kill me for this, but he has a full beard. He also is bald and has just kind of side hair. And when he does not maintain the dye in his hair, he ages dramatically. So he stays on top of it, and I just want to say it really looks great on him, and it helps him maintain a youthful appearance. If you're competing, take a decade off. It never hurts. Also with women need to watch also hairdos. I have worked with many people in fashion, and also just consulting with people who come in and ask me, how are things going? One woman I dealt with, for example, had hair. She had to have been about 62 years old, had hair down past her waist. It was long and very greasy, flat hair, and she must have been wearing this from the time she was like 14. And it had never occurred to her to update her appearance. And she was otherwise a very beautiful woman, but with very unnatural hair that distracted from her personal appearance. Sometimes we get these signature looks that are really needing to be dealt with or updated. So don't be afraid to do updates and ask questions about your hair, your makeup, your accessories, your hygiene. Focus in on things that you can control and that you want to be very specific with your brand. For men, I want to say that you can take some risks. Most men play it very conservative. They tend to wear very conservative clothing and play it down, when in essence, to be memorable, they need to turn it up a little bit. I met a gentleman one time for coffee as a pre-interview to a detailed interview with a potential employer. And I had been set up to go in and really ask some tough questions of this gentleman before he met with another one of my clients. And in meeting him, he did not know I was there a little bit early. And I actually walked in behind him. And because he was in kind of a rush, and it seemed like to me he was kind of grappling with his briefcase and disorganized, the door actually fell back on me as I walked in behind him. Now, this is not a good first impression if somebody behind you is coming in and the door hits them in the face, but I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to just give this guy another chance. And looking at him, he was quite an interesting candidate in that everything he wore was khaki. Khaki pants, khaki shirt. I thought to myself, oh my goodness, I've met the Khaki Man. And the one thing that he did very right in his dressing was that he wore very modern, face-framing, avant-garde eyeglasses that made him seem, very unique and updated. And his lack of any difference in his dress was kind of overlooked because he got bonus points for being memorable with his eyeglass frames. Now, when you go and present yourself to people, what kinds of things do you focus in on as being somewhat memorable? For me, I always try to focus on just being dressed to my very best. I also try to be aware of the fact I'm 6'2", so personally I have to be careful about heels and short skirts and all kinds of things. I have to be very aware of what's going on with me as I dress. And I think this is why I'm so confident that a lot of things can be achieved if you're careful with how you dress and how you choose to present yourself. Other things women in particular need to be aware of, things like makeup, being at least familiar with how to use the basics in makeup. I know this sounds silly, but if you are interviewing for a job and you're over the age of 40, it is important that you wear basic makeup, in my opinion. This is just my professional opinion. Basic makeup includes a little bit of concealer, a little bit of mascara, a little bit of face framing eyebrow pencil, and maybe a little bit of lipstick. Okay, these would be the bare minimum that you need to make sure that when you're on camera, you look your best. To make a point, I should have brought one of my eraser. I have these washcloths that are makeup erasers, and I should have taken off half my face just to show you the startling impact, but I didn't want to scare you, of me without any form of makeup. It's kind of different, and it does impact your perception of people. So it's important, if you can control certain things, to control them. Things like your shoes. Are they polished? Those are questions you need to ask yourself. Your clothes, are they pressed? Are they clean? Are they lint-free? I knew a woman one time who often interviewed for jobs but just was not paying attention to her appearance hardly at all. And because she would eat lunch in her car, she would often get like chili dogs on her shirt before she would walk in. And as wonderful as she was personally, you couldn't get over the fact that she had food all over her shirt. Be careful with how you present yourself. Finally, I want to point out something as a just point of conversation. IBM did a campaign for the launch of Watson, and they used people to convey a human brand of Watson. And I'd like to share pictures of these people because I think the ad agency that put together this ad, they did a great job of paying attention to the details to convey confidence, to convey digital savvy, to convey people who think creatively, and people who look modern. So here's some thoughts for you. I can turn millions of players into millions of payers. And this woman is a professional gaming expert. Everything about her, from her pointed shoes to her ankle-length pants to her bold choice of t-shirt and her hairstyle, conveys that she is confident, that she is on the cutting edge technically. She looks like someone who could turn millions of players into payers. This woman, beautiful African American woman, just gorgeous, and they have her in a tightly fitted executive suit. She looks confident. She looks like she's in control. Her body language says, "I'm in control." Can you see that? Yeah. Her hairstyle, cropped, short, excellent. This particular suit and this gentleman, these two gentlemen right here, they look great. They're updated. They have on narrow pant lines. A lot of the classic blunders that people make in terms of funky ties or outdated silhouettes on their suits, these are perfectly updated examples of modern clothing. And I wanted to conclude by sharing that with you, because you can get these silhouettes for pennies on the dollar at thrift stores or at consignment boutiques. You can buy wonderful used clothing at a fraction of retail if you shop with somebody who's got an updated eye and can help you identify what fits well and how it looks on you. So ask the guys who are standing around at designer places like Nordstrom's to share with you ideas of what might look good on your body type. You don't have to buy clothes from them, but they might have really fresh ideas on what might update and upgrade your personal brand. If you're a woman, talk to a stylist. There are so many wonderful people working the floors at places like Nordstrom that will offer free advice on what's in, why wear this, what type of body type looks good in this, and they can be great sources of fresh inspiration for you. I look forward to seeing your human brand. I'm sure it's rocking.